Yo, is this thing on? Happy Friday, y'all. It is the middle of the month already. And it's Feedback Friday! It's always like the best day of the week, really. Get to hear what you guys have been working on all week. I've been hearing what I've been working on far too much. Oh, I have, like, how many documents open right now? My goodness, what in the world? So, y'all doing well out there? We have another special guest appearance by the one and only Imaginate today. What's shaking, Danny?
Okay.
How you doing, Holmes?
Good. Can you hear me good?
I certainly can.
Dude, awesome. I pulled out my mic, my AKG, my arm.
Yeah.
Actually, real arm, of course, but the metal arm broke. So I'm gonna be here doing it.
Old school. Oh man. Okay.
Hope that's all right.
Yeah, of course it's all right. Using an arm as an arm? That's ridiculous. What's next? Are you going to make phone calls on your phone?
I know, right?
I'm just joking. I don't expect you to make phone calls on your phone.
I like to go backwards with things, like Harrier pigeons. That's the future.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
How much for a subscription?
Sure.
Ooh, I like it.
No, $19.99. Yeah.
How much for? Wait, why am I getting a subscription? Why am I getting feedback all of a sudden from my? That was weird. That was weird. Did you hear that? I heard that.
It might have been. I don't know if it was bleed on my end because I opened up Twitch just now.
Oh, that's probably all it was then. Javar, welcome in. I haven't said hello to everyone yet. I just fired up the stream and sent you an invite, so got to get through my morning routine with these kitty cats over here.
Oh, sorry. You know what? I'm a studio person and I should know not to be like this.
Don't put your lips on the mic, dude.
3 inches. Or 5.
Space, please.
I know it is.
Space, please.
Hey, Paul, how's this? I'm turning up the volume on my preamp. That might help.
Javar, welcome in. Hope the scripting is going well over there. Scruffy Rico. How the hell are you? What the hell is scripting writing? Or kontakt scripting? It's when you style the knobs and make sliders do more than one thing at once and stuff inside of kontakt. It's all the stuff that makes the magic happen, if you will. Heidi is here. I love the jack-o'-lantern guy.
Hello.
Hey, you're back. Welcome back. Saffron, how the hell are you, homie?
Okay.
Thank
yeah,
you
I
again
think-
for your eternal patience, Saffron. I appreciate you. Paul, tuning in from sunny Maryland today. Hi, Paul. It is sunny and gorgeous here in Portland. It's still like 80s right now for some reason in mid-October here, so we're kind of rolling with it.
That's interesting. 80 degrees in Oregon, huh?
Dude, nothing is normal anymore.
Yeah.
They're
I
calling
thought-
it the new normal, but it's not normal.
Yeah, man, that's so strange. Like it's been hitting 90s up here, which is like semi-normal, like or semi-strange, but like yeah, 80 in Portland right now. That's kind of
Yeah, it's been like mid 80s if I'm not mistaken.
Whoa. Yeah.
Right? Whoa, Paul is making something. He's making a patch with air sounds, Danny, and granular toppers combined. Dude,
My
it's just
man.
whatever we throw at this guy each week. He's just like, I'm gonna make something with that now.
That's awesome.
Hmm?
Yeah, share it when you if you want and when you want.
Ripple Pros, meow. Feeling better? Sir Browser, welcome in. Happy Friday to you, sir. Seth says, haven't even started a track for that challenge. You know what? We don't have a monthly challenge scheduled this month, you guys. I need to figure out how we're going to operate an ongoing sample flip thing. I would like to use the threads feature inside of Discord to make it extra interesting. But I think I need some input from you guys to keep it cool because I don't want it to just like fizzle. So here's the first concept. I've said this out loud before, but as a refresher, we post something, say like a beat or a riff. It's something kind of singular, right? We put it up into the channel on Discord, and then someone claims it and reposts it. They've either added to it, subtracted from it, tweaked it, remixed it, right? And then the next person can claim and post, right? But each time someone posts, right, we're waiting for the fresh output from them. So in a thread in that channel, we can start flipping little ideas. We can post our own little responses at each step of the way. Kind of like this incremental remix or incremental collaborative kind of approach. So you can kind of, in this one channel, kind of go back in time to an idea that someone posted like 3 or 4 sample flips ago. Right? I don't know. I think it might be kind of a cool way to do this. And I was thinking that we could do it with, you know, musical elements like beats or melodies or whatever. And we could also do it with individual sounds, because I think that this would be as equally as entertaining. So anyway, you guys let me know what you think about that and if you have fun ideas. And once we have a decent idea all figured out, then we will get a challenge announced. But I don't want to have like a half-baked challenge. So
Half baked. Yeah.
yeah, right? I mean, nobody really wants to be half-baked. You're
Just
either
a
baked
little-
or you're not baked.
I like a little doughy.
Yeah?
A little doughy's cool. Yeah, but yeah, sometimes you want that full bake, man.
Well, I mean, okay, brownies, it's fine to be half-baked.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yes.
But like a loaf of Wonder Bread? No,
No.
man. No.
No.
Gooey white bread? No. It's just not gonna, no. That's just
Cookies-
not.
Chocolate chip cookies, on the other hand, though.
Sure.
See, that's one where it's like a nice crunch on the edge and
Yeah.
a soft middle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a win. Pretty much
Yeah.
every single time.
Every
Yeah.
time.
But
Throw it on the grill.
but half-baked white bread?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like a 12 grain, like a multi-grain bread that's like half-baked. No, it's just not inviting,
No.
enticing, nothing.
Just leaves a weird feeling.
Yeah, we're not even to the taste or aftertaste. It's just like, I don't even want to get past this feeling. I'd just like to stop the conversation and
Yeah.
yeah, let's check and see what the chat's saying again. a lot of rain and really miserable right there, Seth. Well, meanwhile, it's like flipping gorgeous in Rainland over here. We did see some rain at the beginning of summer.
Nice, nice. Reading the chat. Let's see.
Yeah. Hey, Green Hollow. Welcome in. Becky is here. Phone calls on the phone is the only thing my mom does with her iPhone, right? Some merits. Some merits in early. It is beautiful in Portland, isn't it, Heidi? Sample pancakes. Oh, man. Okay. I just had an idea. I read the word pancakes and I had a big idea. Kwame, what's up, sexy? How are you? Happy Friday. Welcome in. Okay, here's the idea. Here's the idea. We travel around, I guess, the world, not the country, right? Because this is like a global community here. We travel around the world and we meet people from the community in their favorite diner or bar or whatever, right? And we sample everything we can get our freaking hands on in that place. And then we release sound packs that are actually named the name of the person that lives there.
I have a completely original name for that idea too.
What is it?
As a series. Diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. I made a joke once several years ago, and one of my friends was there, and he will not ever let me down or let it down. It had to do with an impact library, and I was like, "Oh, we should call it Hole in the Wall." And now I thought it was kind of funny in the moment, and he was like, "Oh yeah, good dad joke." I mean, and this is like years ago, right? And I can't live it down now. What the hell?
Totally do that, man. Not half-baked stuff. That's got to be a full baking.
It's got to be. Respect the gazelle. Thank you so much, Sir Browser. Appreciate you. A botanical sound garden.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Actually, wow. That makes
Yeah.
me want to go to the what's that? The botanical garden in Golden Gate Park, man. That vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. I love botanical gardens.
When you were in San Francisco, did you ever go to the Academy of Sciences?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Man, that you'd really like that place.
I feel like I would remember it if I had been. So I'm going to say no, I have not been.
It's sick, man. Yeah, if you ever find yourself in the Bay Area, you should definitely go. They have like a totally indoor Amazon like bubble. It's like this giant structure that's like set temperature wise and like environmentally to be the Amazon, and they have like all these animals and things, insects that are from the Amazon that are like in there. It's really, really cool.
Wow. And
Yeah.
just for full clarity, this is not like an Amazon warehouse. This is not Amazon marketplace. This is
Yeah.
the Amazonian jungle environment. Pythons, butterflies, ants. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. No workers with vests in there, fortunately.
Maybe we should check Amazon and see if we can buy a python or
Yeah,
ants. Like Amazonian fruits, maybe.
Read the reviews. Yeah, this one strangled my cat. You know, it's A plus Python.
Oh, this python meets all my python needs. Eats 4 small cats a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you even write as a review for a python if you bought one on Amazon?
Yeah. The quality, the size of it,
Right?
the skin texture. I don't know. This one just feels cheap. Runs on AA's, not. I don't know.
Well, and not everyone would be happy, right? I mean, some people would be like, hey, this is a total bait and switch. I ordered a parrot and I got a python. This is ridiculous.
I ordered a python. You guys sent me a garden snake. What's that little snake that's in in California that's all over the place. What are they called?
Garters.
Garter snakes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what it was. A little garter snake. Those things are pretty too.
Yeah, we've got them everywhere here.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Yep.
I guess that makes sense, huh?
Yeah, we got the ones with the red stripes and the yellow stripes. We always called them red racers and yellow racers when I was little. Had them all over the place.
Yeah, I'm reading what Purple Prose has to say. That's really cool. Heidi is Purple Prose, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, yeah, and she's from around here, so she knows what's up.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Red racer, yellow racer, right there.
Yeah, there it is. That's so cool. We have the California king snakes in California. I've seen one time, and they're pretty cool. They're like marketed as like the good guy snakes.
Kings, man, they're always trying to make themselves out to be the good guys. You ever notice that?
Yeah, and then it's like you find them doing things.
What's that king snake up to when nobody's looking?
Yeah.
Right?
Stealing children into the forest.
You know that king snake's up to something, or else it wouldn't have the name king.
Yeah, right.
Right?
But I feel like if it had the name like a prince snake, that would be even worse.
Totally pretentious, has no good work ethic, like steals eggs from nests and shit.
Yeah, like a king snake has some degree of like trust, whereas like a prince snake, it's like, I don't know about this guy. He's a little shifty.
Right. Sneaking behind dad's back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Damn prince snakes.
I'm being held down by my dad. I'm being held back. And then, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Seriously. Why is every single prince snake like this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least they're honest. At least they're themselves.
That's
There's
right.
no smoke and mirrors.
Rockhound is here. Welcome in, Rockhound. Zamerits, what are you working on this week? The queue is so long. Oh no, it is. You guys are just posting, and we're just rambling on about half-baked bread and shit. All right. Oh, Rockhound is like, there's 3,475 submissions. That's awesome.
Nice.
Quirky is thrilled to tell us that his songs are getting popular 200,000 YouTube streams in total so far.
Congrats.
And he's saying, you are so awesome, but Quirky, you are the one that's making the music. So, surprise, you are the one that is awesome, sir. Ah. Becky, are you learning about licensing and stuff? Cody Modi, welcome in. Dude, Cody Modi, there's a taster pack, compliments of Danny here, Mr. Imaginate himself, in the public lounge.
Yes,
Go grab it.
There's about like 30 sounds in there, maybe a little bit more. That is a wide variety of one-shots, loop, drums, effects. I try to make those taster packs as balanced as possible, so that way you're not like stuck, just with one particular kind of sound. So yeah, try
just
it out,
that one sound that sucks from the pack.
Yeah, right.
You found like that one.
Yeah, I find like I try to pick out the best stuff, like so that you have the best to play with already, and then that is also just like a taster of what the rest of the pack is. So it's purposeful.
Word.
If I might add too, Becky, if you're familiar with PROs in the US, in the States, I'm not familiar entirely with the parameters in the UK, but in the States, ASCAP, which is a PRO, a performing rights organization, they have certain resources for unionization, I believe. And they have, just resources in general for things like that. So I definitely urge you to check that out if you're curious. I'm part of ASCAP, and it's awesome. Yeah, you're welcome. It's really great. A lot of cool resources for like medical insurance and like dental insurance. Yeah, it's awesome. So I didn't even know it existed too. So yeah, you got to kind of do a little bit of digging, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, most cities have like a local musicians union office that you can drop by and visit. They're usually really boring and not well staffed, and they have really good resources available to people.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Right? All right. Well, we should probably get started on this stuff here. Cardio, welcome in. What's up, Liv? America's much more litigious. We take pride in our litigation. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm going to hit pause on this thing in the background here, and we are going to start off with Wake Up Pura. See if I can get on my windows back here. And this one was actually posted last week, so we're going to kick off with this one because we did not do Feedback Friday last week. So Wake Up Pura. Wake Up Kira. You're up first. All right, so this passed a little quickly. I'm liking the vibe. I mean, overall, I feel like the mix is solid. The theme is good. It's really good production quality. Nothing really stood out. Respect the gazelle. Thank you, Central. Good to have you in, homie. Good to see you. Nothing really stood out to me as needing like dire attention or like change in any one area. I mean, honestly, it's a really, really solid production. Everything can be heard. You're using your stereo spectrum incredibly well. Your EQing is obviously pretty darn tight. Yeah. Danny, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
A little quiet.
A little quiet. Yeah, they're saying if you could turn me up. I was trying to turn myself up in the preferences, but for whatever reason, it just wants to stay stuck.
Are you running through an interface?
Oh, you know what?
Turn up your interface.
Yep. Let me open my console really quick. Let's see. That would make lots of sense. Okay, this should do it, maybe. Is this better? Hello, hello?
Yeah, it's getting better.
Oh, boy. Okay. Let me turn the input up a little bit, too. All right.
There we go.
Yeah?
It's getting there, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey.
Okay.
Levels.
Whoa. I'm like, yeah.
Test one, test one.
How's this?
Sibilance. It sounds good.
Okay, much better. Cool. I'll have to figure out a chain to pop on my universal audio console later on. Anyway, cool. So yeah, I thought that was really great. I felt like it's tough because like that style of music is so dependent on really being distorted and like upfront and especially like drums heavy, but I felt like the snare and the drums kind of took away from like the other elements that were going on. Like it's not even a major thing. It's super minor, and perhaps it's a lot to do with taste, but yeah, I felt like some of the main melodic elements could have shown through a little bit more. But other than that, yeah, it's a dope track, man. It probably saw bobbing my head and everything. So yeah, dope, man.
Yeah, I was digging it. When I don't write much, I'm usually digging it.
Yeah.
Scruffy Rico. Something I'm working on. I think arrangement needs tweaking, maybe some different sound choices. This is something that came from one of my ambient tracks. Oh, nice. Dude, nothing but greatness is coming from your ambient stuff. Normally we go all in on Scruffy's videos, but we're going to keep your face up here. Ooh. Yeah, Rich, this is a good one, dude. I can hear that you're kind of wondering where to go with some of the stuff. I think that you could really lean into the space theme and have a little breakdown where it's just kind of focus on ear candy and space, and maybe bring some stuff back in gradually or something, or maybe there's like some kind of big flyby event that brings the mix back with it or something, like a comet tail or so. I don't know. I think you could probably get a little creative with the mix there. I think it'd really draw people in. Generally speaking, I think the pad that comes in the intro, I think it can come up a bit. I think it'd be interesting to layer a snap in with a clap. I feel like it would really kind of give it a certain sense of like, I don't know, roundness in the middle of it would feel kind of nice. Piano feels just a touch hot in the mid highs. Um, bit more presence and a slightly longer verb on the transition effects. And maybe just some more, just in general, just some more long form volume automations to bring more separation to the different elements in play so they're not quite as omnipresent as they are right now in the different areas, allowing things to kind of ebb and flow and take priority and ease off. Um, really dig the theme. I do feel like maybe the space chatter could come up above the instruments in a couple of spots for a bit to kind of give it a bit more of like a story arc. Um, that's it. Everything else is good. Sound design is awesome as always. Your synth arrangement is nice. Mix is good. It's going to sound nice when it's all mixed down and opened up. Uh, good stuff. Good stuff. Danny, what do you think?
Yeah. So starting from, I guess, like the writing and arrangement all the way up to mixing, it's kind of like how I think just for the rest of these feedback sessions and what I have to say. It's kind of the way that I think. The writing is really solid. I mean, for like this style of music, like it's very flowy and it's not necessarily repetitive in a bad way. It's repetitive in the way that it's supposed to be. And I completely agree with the storytelling arc. That was probably the biggest thing about the writing and arrangement that I feel could use a little bit more interest. And definitely with the astronaut chatter, like intros, speaking in terms, I guess, of like just casual or traditional arrangement, like intros versus breakdowns, things like that, where there aren't a whole lot of elements going on. Those are moments that you want to capitalize on that storytelling. And in this case, the astronaut chatter is kind of one of the main points, if not like the main point, as it's the easiest thing or most prominent thing that's telling the story. That stuff definitely bring up in those intro verse and breakdown moments. Um, and then later in the song for your second drop, second chorus, whatever you are calling it, where there's like all the synths at once and everything, make that like a really bold statement. And you can make that section very bold without being like this overproduced piece of music by adding in some more synth swells, effect swells. Filter automation too is really great on your synths. One thing that might be kind of cool is to add in some like subtle futuristic effects. One cool effect that I really like, and this is totally up to you and taste and everything, is taking like two saw waves and playing fifths and have like in Serum. I guess let me explain this a little bit better. In Serum, if you have two saw waves, and you're playing fifths on the keyboard, and the two saw waves are filtering over the course of like a bar, and stuttering also. That's a cool sound. Definitely like I wouldn't say popular sound, but a sound that people know. And the effect of the filtering and the stuttering at every like last bar of a go around, like every 4 bars or 8 bars or 16, whatever you're working with, is a great way to lead in to. It's a great sound to use to lead into the next section or the next go around, whatever that might be. And then as far as the boldness goes outside of effects, like go in on like this is the last chorus, this is the last moment, make that super super bold. And you can do that by
certain production things, saturation, more filtering, volume, automation, things like that. But one thing that you could do is add, it's definitely a great trick. Take like a string sound, right? Or like a sawtooth that's filtered to be made sound, or to be made to sound like a string, and have it playing the tonic or the fifth, and that will just add a little bit more tonal interest, harmonically speaking, as well as arrangement interest too. And then I'm a sucker for strings, so adding in some strings might be really cool too, especially because strings and piano, which you have already, are great elements in these cinematic, futuristic kind of atmospheres and placements. So yeah, that's all I have to say. The mixing is great. I think it'll definitely open up more as you go into the production. Like as you produce more of this track, the mixing will follow along. And as far as the mixing, if I could suggest anything, it would just be to bring up those main elements a little bit more, make them a little bit bolder with saturation. Watch your EQ a little bit too. When you get into those main ideas, like the choruses, the drops, again, whatever you call it, there's going to be a lot of low mid, like 250, 500, that area. That's going to be very sensitive area. You're going to want to make space for the elements that are meant for those places on the frequency spectrum. So keep an eye out for that, especially with pianos. They can get pretty muddy. Synths, make sure you're EQing stuff at like 250, taking out the low mids that you don't really need, things like that. And that'll open up the mix a lot more too. So
Word, I like the idea of adding some strings. You definitely get like that kind of majestic and discovery kind of vibe when you start getting some strings in there. Be good for space.
absolutely. Yeah, Cardio Party knows what's up. Saws and strings are really the same thing.
Yeah, it's all the same. It's all
Love
good.
it. Yeah.
Okay, Saf, you are up next. This one is called Fall Garco Jaw. Just one more time. Fall Garco Jaw. It's like half of the best. What am I trying to say? Half of what makes his tracks so great is the name every single week. I don't know how he keeps coming up with them. Dude, Saf, that was a workout, homie. Just like pure and utter sonic mayhem. Uh I feel like it was a bit of an arcade kind of a thing. Like there was definitely the drone effect of your normal stuff, but it didn't have as much of like the washiness and like the psychedelic processing. But the same kind of effects started to happen. Like the same outcomes started to happen, right? The same kind of um, affect started to develop over time, which is really interesting to me. So your vibe and your like approach to it all, it absolutely carries over regardless of all of the space that you usually put everything through. So that's really cool. Um, I do kind of crave, and it was around the halfway point of the track, some kind of subtle or thin or not too invasive element that can kind of run through not the entirety of the track, but maybe the middle of the track for at least a couple of minutes that kind of brings it together for a bit. I love that it's like pure chaos in the beginning. It would be cool if that pure chaos kind of devolved in some way at the end or something. Um, Generally speaking, though, I think my big takeaway on this one for you is that your sound is your the way that you're working with your sounds has become less dependent upon how you are processing your sounds. And I feel like that's a pretty big growth measurement for you because you're achieving the same kind of psychedelic results, the same kind of like um, mental soup effect, if you will, that you do when you have everything drenched in delays and reverb and things are very resonant and dubby and clashing and you're getting a lot of that out of just the like the repetitious programming of the drums and the metallic sounds and the way that you've kind of combined those things in the palette. It's cool, man. It's cool. It's really neat to see you developing your craft like this. Uh, okay, so a couple things that could tie it together in the middle there. One small subtle tonal element, and it could be as subtle as like tuned air, right? Like giving a little resonant peak to some kind of an atmospheric thing that can then be kind of moved or brought up and down in presence or something like that. Another would be a long form modulation process that's shared by most or all of the mix, maybe a shared filter sweep or saturation swells, right? So those things that are just kind of sort of clangy become like highly resonant and very shiny, and then they can become kind of dull again. Um, or you could just go like dip into your old toolbox just a little bit and do just a couple scattershot bursts, just blasts of some really heavy delay reverb clouds that's just like whoosh, that one got out and now it's kind of floating above the mix there for a while. Sort of like a little freeze effect or something like that. I think that would also be kind of an interesting uh, kind of thing you could play with. I could also see that working well in other mixes. But all in all, dude, this is just wild. This one is just wild. Uh, Man like Ruben, yes, absolutely. You can send in film music. We love it when you do. Danny, what are you thinking about this one? Fall,
That one was a lot
Garco,
of fun.
Jaw.
Yeah, dude, that one was a lot of fun. Like, there's a couple parts where I was just like listening, and it just like made me laugh because it was just like not in a bad way, just like whoa, like this is so like fun. You know what I mean? Yeah, man, wow, that was really cool, and I like the articulations going on and like the just the chaos, right? Simply put, yeah, really cool, man. I mean, it's super unique, super different, and it's man, it's gonna sound kind of funny, but it's like listenable, right? It's like listenable chaos, and I think that's a really hard thing to do. So, dude, major kudos. That's awesome. Um, I think I think really the only thing, like Chris was saying, maybe some elements to kind of like bridge when there's a different section happening, or just to add maybe like a little bit more structure for people to latch onto. It's maybe a taste thing, but I think that it would really help this thing progress also. Yeah, that could be in the form of like a sweeping sound, like a really quick sweeping sound, maybe like a reverse synthetic cymbal sound could be kind of cool. I was thinking like the second go around, I would say like middle section, but towards the end, maybe like a little subtle, like filtered saw womp every so often would be really, really interesting, because I feel like this is very, very dense in the like 500 and up, like usual instrumentation space on the frequency spectrum. So like I wouldn't say there's maybe too much you can add at this point, especially because there's so much going on from like a rhythmic and musical perspective, that if you are going to add something that's maybe tonal and musical and a little rhythmic, something in the low end would help thicken things up a little bit, but also to add a little bit more interest as well. So like, every so often, just like again, a saw womp or something along those lines that happens over the course of like a quarter note or like a half note, just something like that. A little bit of a resonance peak just to give it some of that wowie kind of sound. But yeah, I think that's all I really have, man. So this is amazing, very interesting, very, very interesting.
It always is. Saf only brings interesting things. I just had another little thought, Saf. You could kind of go back and forth on a track like this to generate that tonal element or interest that can be used as like this kind of continuity agent, for lack of a better term, in the mix. You could kind of go back and forth between comb filter and resonator, these two things that will elongate and kind of tonalize things in a very interesting and like moving, like in a somewhat organically evolving manner. So you're not actually touching your sounds or the arrangement in any other way, and yet you're completely blowing it up, moving it away from sharp and percussive to elongated and, ringy, and then back. So it would kind of bring a bit of this kind of elastic quality to some of the sounds, I think. It'd be kind of a fun thing to play with there. Yeah, Central is loving this one. And Men Like Ruben, again, please do post cinematic stuff. Recluse, you did not miss anything. You are next. Look at that timing. Look at that timing. All right, it's Recluse time. Everybody sit down. This one seems serious. Backstory. And this is what family is for right here. Recently caught my girlfriend, now ex, being unfaithful and had to end a 5.5-year relationship, my first relationship. This whip came about after the interaction. First and foremost, homie, big love. And second, I honestly cannot wait to hear what we're about to hear. But I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to download it first instead of playing it off of Google Drive for you. All right, so this one's called Long Nights to Wave.
There's a feeling that I can't shake. It's a feeling that's been with me for a while, and more I cannot hesitate. I need to know, should I stay or hit the highway? And the high road I know I'll have to take. Only in your darkest moments you could find a way.
What just happened?
Only in your darkest moments chance you could find a way. 'Cause I've been thinking, should I just keep on going? Driving in the all late night, just to see the other side. Wanna start a whole new life, just to leave this world behind.
Stop. Look into my eyes. Leave. Leave. Run.
See the other side. Wanna start a whole new life, just to leave this world behind. Cause I don't know if I should keep on moving. My heart says that I just need to prove it to myself, no one else. All the ways they wanna go, take me back to a time when life would move so slow. I wanna start a whole new life, just to leave this world behind.
Run.
I'm driving, I'm driving, I'm driving, driving, I'm driving, I'm driving, driving, I'm driving, I'm driving. I'm driving, I'm driving, I'm driving, 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 driving in the all late night, just to see the other side. Wanna start a whole new life, just to leave this world behind. I'm gonna start a whole new life in the all late night.
Oh man, that whisper at the end? Are you kidding me, dude? All right, man, there's a lot going on in this track. Number one, you're pouring all of this stuff out in a really good way. Of course, like everything you make is awesome, so there's that. I feel like a lot of my stuff is a lot of my feedback here is more about like the prioritization of things to like maximize the emotional impact of things. Like the intro whisper can come up a bit, where the more dry in your face dialogue can actually come down a bit at 110. And I think that just in general that profile needs to be affected in some way, just a little bit more. It's a little bit too forward. At 50 seconds, I think maybe more dominant doubling on the vocal or earlier doubling that's, more present. And again, it's just to increase the emotional impact. Like we're in massive conflict zone here, and like your emotions are split, and you've basically got like a split personality thing going on right now, right? You've like many years in love, and now trust is broken, and just like lots and lots and lots of stuff, right? I would kind of lean into that. And let people know that like this is, these feelings, they like make us feel like we're bordering on insanity, or like if we can even keep ourselves together, right? So I feel like, the more you can be vulnerable and lean into that, the better it'll come out the right way, I think. 157 saws down a touch. 2 minutes, the square synth, it's a little bright and harsh on the highs. 220, I have no idea what to call this synth. I just called it the ethnic synth. It sounded a little like Scottish almost, which was cool. It could use like a little tremolo, or a little vibrato or something in there, something to give it just a little like tremble of some kind. 230, I think some harmonic backing accents, like maybe at the end of phrases or something. Maybe the first one you toss out is a fifth and the second one is a seventh or something, just because not everything is hopeless. 304, I would vary the timing and the depth of the compression, controlling the side chain ducking, because the pumping feels all in and very steady, and I feel like it should be just a little bit more varied and loose. 308-ish, I got lost in typing. It might be a little bit later than this. The vocal shot, I feel like this one, I forget what she says, but it was poignant or timely or something, and it could be like maybe distorted or filtered or twisted in some way to make it stand out from the other things that she's saying in the rest of the arrangement. 346 right here. I think when all of these different vocal elements are kind of over the top of each other, again, I would lean into the whole, like, I feel like I have multiple personalities inside my head right now. I don't know which direction I'm being pulled. I don't know what I'm feeling. Am I ever going to make it out of this? Like all of that stuff, I would like maybe let it run over the top of each other a little bit more and get kind of confused, and see what it sounds like. See if you like it, because I feel like that's kind of what we're going for here, right? And then 418, that whisper at the end is just deadly, and I would bring it up a bit and like kind of roll into a verb, like in just the last couple of syllables. Everything's going to be all right, like all right. Danny, what do you think?
Yeah, man. Great composition. It's nice to hear a story and hear the story too, the influence of what you're writing about. Vocals are always fun. You can do so much with vocals from both the musical and production perspective, man. And since this is a very, very vocal centric song, with the exception of the two drops, of course, you really want to go in on those vocals, man. It sounds like, generally speaking, on this track, that you're feeling it feels a little apprehensive in some ways, and I think you can push things a little bit further than they already are, especially in the vocals. And that would be adding some more interesting harmonies to those vocal harmony sections, even some of the melodic lines, putting in a little bit more, couple more tracks of maybe different notes to make a little bit of a harmony going on, some production flair as well, saturation, reverbs, choruses, things like that. I think this song could really benefit though from adding some extra harmonies in the vocals. It feels like you've got it down, like you've got it figured out, like where you want the harmonies, but I think you can just take them a little bit further. And I'd even say add some dissonance in some places too, like kind of piggybacking off of what Chris said, the split personality, the splitness, I guess, of of the song and the lyrics and the point and everything. I think adding a little bit of, not necessarily aggression, but yeah, dissonance, that just
that frustration in some way could be really beneficial. And I think you could really, really do that and achieve that perfectly in the musical stuff. I know there's a lot of focus on the production aspect here because you have, your drops, and your drops do sound very purposeful. You have the super saws, and then in the second one you have super saws and a big heavy dubstep snare. And it definitely sounds like you're going for that. Well, it is. You're going for that theme of, this is a EDM type drop. This is an EDM type structure, EDM production, things like that. And that's cool. But I think you could take it a little bit further in what you're doing as an artist and lean more so in what you are trying to achieve in the musical sense, and then also in the production sense, and try to take yourself outside of the thinking in terms of drops, what is even in a drop, and the genre, things like that. Lean a little bit more into the emotion that you're trying to convey, and I think you'll get a very, very interesting result.
Yeah, Recluse, really awesome. I just put it in the chat, but you just continue to pour yourself into your music in incredible ways, and I really honestly do appreciate it. Green Hollow. Speaking of legends, here's another. We know it's always going to be good when we see Green Hollow post. This one is called New Day. And here we go. Digging this art, by the way. Hey. Happy Friday, homie. Central's up. Ready. That art is cool, right? Right? Also want to give a quick shout out to Blackberry. Dude, it's good to see you here on a Friday. Sorry the kids are sick, but glad to see you in the room. Yet another absolute legend in the community. I'm still typing here, but this vocal ambience, I think it's something that can kind of move around and come up and down in its presence and prioritization, because there are moments where I'm like, ooh, man, I wish that was like bigger and more ethereal and just like, and then there are other times where I'm like, oh, I wish it would back off just a little bit so I could hear this other thing just a tiny bit more. But just in general, I feel like this one's got the funk, number one. There's a pad that's sitting between the drums and the leads, and it's a little bloated in the mids, and I think it can be brought down a couple. And I think that if you were to send that thing through some kind of filter movement, you would find a couple of sweet spots in there, and maybe find a way to tap down. I feel like it's just some mid-range resonance in there. Probably not going to hear it if you isolate it on its own, but when you're listening with the other sounds, I think it's kind of like a frequency buildup. Anyway, 120. I think the bass can come down a bit here. I feel like it kind of competes rather than drives in some spots. So I'm not sure if it's like a bring it down across the board, or if it's just something that needs to be adjusted in a couple of spots, but definitely give it a critical listen. I can't remember what I was going to say around this transition. So I'm going to click back by this transition really quick and get my ears on it again. Oh, just transition effect, I think. I think that's what I was going to say is sprinkle transition effects in a track like this, like candy, like freaking Pop Rocks. You know, like you want them to like surprise people and be like, whoosh, whoa, what was that? Nothing. No impact on the arrangement. Just ear candy. Just interest. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, dude, I love some drum and bass. Always great to hear some D&B. Yeah, I think some transitional elements would be really beneficial. I'm not really going to suggest any mix stuff because I think this is perhaps very much a whip on this one. Right on. Yeah, man. I'm not really going to do anything mix wise because I think you have definitely some more production that you're going to do, and that's definitely going to help out a lot in a lot of different ways, even the mix. One thing with drum and bass, especially stuff that is very, very minimal. I wouldn't even say this is like super minimal, but as far as like the bass, I guess is what I'm getting to. With Reese's, especially filtered Reese's, two things. One, it's really easy for them to sound kind of dull, and I know that they're meant to sound dull because of the style of music that you're working with and the style that you're trying to do. But if you can find a way to add a little bit of personality to it, just a little bit, a subtle amount, that can be done with a little bit of a peak, somewhere between 1 and maybe 5K. 5K is maybe pushing it, but somewhere in that area on the frequency spectrum, just a little bit, maybe 2 dB, will fit really nicely in the track. Definitely like make the peak and scoop around on the EQ and see where like it fits as a puzzle piece. You can try it out with, I don't know what kind of EQs you have, but if you have like an analog EQ, I would advise using that because analog EQs, digital emulation that is, will have a little bit more flavor than like Pro Q3. But nonetheless, adding a little bit of a peak somewhere in those, somewhere in that placement between 1K and 5K will be really cool. And then the second thing, add a little bit of pitch slidiness as well. So like, you know, when you hit your tonic, right? Like the one, whatever that bass is, if you add like an octave of that same note, like a half note before the next bar, like say, you know, you have four 8 bars of a loop, right? And somewhere in the middle or the end of that loop, if you add an octave climb, just a quick one that goes woo like that, adds a lot more movement to your sound, the resound, and the song as well too, and it keeps the flow going, especially on something like this that is very, very flow heavy. And that actually segues into my next point. Since this song is very, very flow heavy, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but I think adding a little something to have a rhythmic anchor for people to get into will really push this song not too much into like an overproduced or like purposefully produced kind of track, but it'll push it into a more easily digestible thing for a lot of people. Like, not saying that this isn't digestible, like it totally is, but you do have a very interesting kick pattern that isn't usual in drum and bass, which is really cool, and I love that, and I think a lot of people are going to love that. But if you do have something that's very simple, like a closed subtle quarter note hat going on, it's going to let people know, oh, that's the one. And especially in drum and bass, which is a genre very dependent on the 2 and the 4, they will know where that is, and they will know where to bob their head and get into it and groove to it, because this does have a groove. So again, give them something to latch onto as a rhythmic anchor.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and I'd also carve away a few of those notes so it's not completely predictable as well, and you get a little bit more of the like take out every third three actually, or whatever, right? You know what I mean? Just to get a little swagger, and then maybe just like a little triplet accent every couple of bars or something like that. Give it just a little extra little kick in the rhythm. It's a really good point on the continuity point.
Yeah, because one thing that'll happen, especially with sidechain and then compression, like down the line, when you add a hat on the 3, since the 3 is empty space in like a usual, broken beat pattern, that hat is going to poke through more, and it's going to add to that rhythm, like Chris is saying, So yeah, something there like again, if you did just a simple quarter note hat, like that third hat is going to poke out and it's going to go, boom, like that. It's
Yeah,
going to add that.
exactly. Yeah, 100%. And if you keep it minimal like that, then it's really going to stand out when one of them falls a little late, right? And when you have something that falls just a little bit late and you get that little, like you put a very subtle transition effect where the hi-hat should be, like if you were making everything cookie cutter, right? So you put like a super quick minimal suck back where the hat normally would be, right? So it's like just slightly late and you're actually accenting the delivery to like call more attention to the fact that it's just slightly late. One more thing I would toss out there is, man, if you could bloom just a little bit of verb around your kick in just one or maybe two spots, and it takes like maybe one full bar for this bloom to start to take effect, and like as it reaches its peak, you distort the hell out of it. I think that would be one nice maneuver in the middle of a song like this, just to have this really bass, like this really heavy like dun, 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 kick moment. I think it'd be really awesome because you're calling so much more attention to your kick already. Might as well have a little bit more fun with it while everyone is putting all of their attention on it. You know what I mean? Why not
Can I add
break
a
another
couple more
rule?
things?
Yeah.
Might I add a couple more things? Yeah. So I read your comment right now, Green Hollow, about any comments on the mix. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, later down the line, like you'll start to mix things naturally just as the production goes on. But one thing I would definitely think about with a genre like this, that it's the mood is stripped back, but the production is going to be, to a degree, it wants to be produced, it wants to be pushed, right? So play with saturations, especially if you don't have it. I don't know if I just clipped, sorry. If you don't have it, I highly recommend FabFilter's Saturn 2 and play with the clean tube and tape settings, and between 5% and 10% on like a full drum bus mix. Okay, yeah, no worries. If you don't have Saturn, that's cool. Like any saturation will do, just a subtle amount. Like if you take, I mean, this is like kind of a conversation for like a one-on-one scenario, but based on whatever DAW that you're in, if there's like, the native saturation, right? Like turn the mix up on the saturation all the way, but then turn the drive or the gain, whatever it is, just a little bit up, just ever so slightly, like maybe 3%, something like that. And it'll add a little bit of flavor, first of all, to your drums, but then saturation, of course, is adding harmonics. And so it'll add a little bit more thickness in character, of course, to your sound. So that's really important. And then the last thing too, with kick drums especially, now this is like a very particular kind of a kick pattern that you got going on here, which is, again, really cool. On your downbeat kick, have that one like a dB louder than every other kick, like the off kicks, and also have the off kicks like off the grid just a little bit. Like if you're in Logic, it would be working in ticks, like pull it off the grid like -17, -17 ticks, something like that. Very, very little amount. And also if you can detune it just a little bit, like not with a chorus or anything like that, but if you go into the sample and you can mess with the tuning slider, do like 0.10 maybe, 0.20 thing, like very, very subtle movements. And what that'll do is add just a little bit of subtle sonic difference in those drums. So it'll not only add to like the psychological music, which is difference over time, just subtly, but then it'll also add to the groove as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Get that round robin effect in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just some little D&B production tips.
Absolutely. And good ones at that. All right, we got a boogie. Sir Browser.
Yes.
This one is called That Is True Freedom. Okay, I'm going to stop it right here as an example of what I'm saying right here in this filter sweep, this less depth. Right now, the whole mix is kind of dipping out and it gets really quiet and it's almost as if just the volume is being reduced. So a few ways that you can make that more interesting is playing with the resonance amount as the filter sweep is happening, and also just kind of picking and choosing which elements might be in a filter sweep instead of putting the entirety of the mix there. A couple other things that I would point out in this. Assuming that you're wanting to sell this beat and have people find like a lot of value in it, I would put in some transition effects. Anytime there's a change, I would also add a few extra transition effects just for sonic embellishment, because people are going to chop a track like this up in a variety of ways, and it's not usually going to be used in a full run, whatever this is, for 4+ minutes. A lot of people are going to use this in like a 30-second, 15-second chop in like a short form commercial or explainer or how to or intro outro music for a podcast or tutorial series or something like that, right? So many more people that would buy a beat like this are going to want it kind of chopped up in more of a utilitarian fashion as well. So that's another thing that I would make mention of, is take a look at the arrangement here and start to isolate different components of the arrangement, because this is how you'll find your natural chopping points for things like intros and outros and short 30 and 15 and 10-second loops, because you're going to want to package this one up in a few different ways, not just as a 4-minute clip, right? You would want to include a few different files. Also, your sub, it comes in at 55 seconds, give or take, and then it runs persistently throughout. I would say that it's actually a little low. Most playback systems aren't like, you're not going to get the love that you want from that sub in most people's playback systems. So what I would do is I would actually bring that up an octave and bring it down a couple of dBs so it doesn't become dominant, and watch the tuning, because it does fall out of tune with the track at a couple of points. 155, so you're hitting the halfway point of this thing, and it's definitely starting to get into that repetition problem where, you know, if lyrics are going to go over the top of this or something, it's fine, but if they aren't, then it's lacking, right? So you just got to find some ways to generate the interest, and it doesn't have to be egregious or over the top. These can be very, very simple, small form reversals that last like a total of 1/4 note in duration. It could also be a resequencing of something. Your piano runs pretty much throughout, and you could chop it up in maybe 6 or 7 different ways and resequence it at different points or something. And that also then gives you a different way to come in and out of your transition points. Just kind of make them pivot points instead. 226, another transition effect. So yeah, just kind of filling this up with interest, not changing the theme, not moving too far away from your original concept, just baking in more little bits of ear candy and interest points. And once you've completed that little side quest there, you're going to be able to listen back to this whole thing and say, okay, that's a chopping point, that's a chopping point, that's a chopping point. So really, from this one beat, you're getting probably like 8 different products, right, that can all be bundled together for the buyer. Danny, what do you think?
Yeah. I don't know if you can hear this, but I just put on a reverb. I don't know if it's working or not.
I can hear it. It's subtle.
Okay. I just explain it around. That's funny. Yeah, man, it's cool. Like, I think it's definitely a beat and has that beat production style, you know, looping and whatnot. I think it could benefit from a little bit more sonic interest. So that can be done through fills, little subtle fills here and there, with filter sweeps, drum fills, things like that. I think it could benefit a lot from a little bit more human characteristics, so a little bit more dynamics in the piano line. I don't know if that's a sample or if that's a MIDI roll that you have going on. If it's a sample, you know, you can only do so much with that. But if it's MIDI that you've programmed, putting in like a little bit more dynamics in the groove and also in the velocity of the notes would help this sound a little bit more organic and natural. Same thing with the drums, just a little bit thrown off the beat will be really cool. You know, a little bit thrown off the quarter notes. That could be really beneficial. And as far as mixing, the drums feel like they want to get saturated a little bit more drive perhaps. So yeah, experiment with that. Make them sound, really boom bappy, right? Because that's the style that I'm getting here. And I think you'll be well on your way, my friend. Vocals too, of course.
Oh, voice is gone. I don't know. Let me try this. Just turn up a little bit more. Yeah, vocals will benefit on this as well. I don't know if it's going to be like a licensable beat or if it's going to be a beat that you intend to have someone hop on or yourself. But yeah, vocals will really take this a long way.
Word. Yeah, something happened with your mic there for a second. It sounded almost like you went to your laptop mic or something.
Yeah, the connection maybe. Anyway.
+1 on all the stuff that you're saying, especially the timing stuff. Get it a little off the grid a bit and get a little more swagger to it. The other thing is that the points about saturation and stuff, those don't have to be static positions. That's one more thing that you could modulate over time, right? So like that saturation could kind of build over time and maybe come back down or something, or maybe it's just slowly building over the entirety of the thing and you're like wondering where it's going to go, and then it ends with that intensity. You can kind of play with it. So just change over time. And the more things that you can change over time, the more general interest there will be. Zamertz, dude.
Yeah, browser. It'd be cool to have like a singer and like a rapper on there. Oh man. I think it was Eminem and Haley Williams, like back in the day, what I'm talking about. Like something like that would be sick, man. Some kind of like duet sort of situation. That'd be cool.
Right? Zamertz, you are up. I'm stoked. And this is a jellyfish. This one's called Centered. I'm always so happy when I get to listen to Zamertz. Dude, some merits. You still just continue to nail the pallets that you're building. These are great. Oh my goodness. There was one moment before we got to the minimal breakdown section where everything in the middle was kind of getting on the verge of competing. It's like 3 mid-range synths at the same time, but dude. Like I felt waves underneath me while I was listening to this. Thank you. Love the pace. Yeah, it's just the palette, man. It's always about your palette because it's obviously driving the inspiration for whatever's about to happen next. And this one was very much, it felt like we were just floating. It was nice. I felt like maybe it was made on a boat. Danny.
Yeah, I second all of that.
Yeah.
So I was really lost in that. The funny thing too is like when I was listening and there's a moment where I was like, okay, like it'd be cool if this came in. What it was that I was hoping would come in did come in.
Oh
That's
man.
so cool. I love that experience, man. It's just like, yes, perfect, you know? Yeah, you know what you're doing, man, and it sounds really good. So like really, really, really good. And it puts you in a space as well too. So well done. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. Rich, if you're here, I'm gonna skip past the ambient track that you posted here, the one that the other track came from, just because we already listened to that one. If we do end up having some time, which I don't think we will, come back and we'll hit it. Cody Modi 1 Kenobi. This one is called Bass and Drum Sound Design. Let's listen. Oh. Okay, I got some feels and some thoughts on this one. Number one, the very first sound right out the gate in less than half a second, you grabbed my ears. Thank you. I mean, it was a little rough. You were like, get over here, ears. That's all good. 20 seconds in, a little bit more definition on the mid-range synth. Love all the percussive funkiness. Again, a little more definition though. Bass could use a touch of AEQ wrangling, tighten it up a bit, and more definition. This definition thing is really just about saturation. Your sounds are, I think, for the most part, all of the right choices in all of the right places. They're just not standing as upright as they could be in certain places. And I think that in some places I can hear that they're being restricted as well. Not just that they haven't been treated properly, but that you've actually abused them. No, I'm just kidding. It's the compression. You can back off the compression just a little bit by bringing up the threshold. It's starting to compress a little bit too early, and remember the basic function of compression is to reduce volume, and if you're reducing the volume at their peaks, and the peaks are when the sound is most impressive, you are taking away the most impressive moment. So instead, try to lift those sounds up and make them more expansive by using saturation and back off of that peak limiting, and then your shit will be 140. Your bass could use a touch of wrangling. Respect the gazelle. Oh, good. Dude, Roku. Here's a guy that needs to learn about freaking EQing. Oh my gosh. I'm just kidding. Good to have you in the mix, Roku. And thank you, Green Hollow. I appreciate you. Okay, so anyway, bass. Speaking of Roku, your bass low cut needs to come up. It's way too low for this one. I would say like 45, 50, 55 hertz. Maybe don't put the subs in there. I think it's just too much for the mix. You need something really nimble and responsive. You're still going to feel all of the sub frequencies that are being generated between like 80 and 40, because let's be fair, when you cut your sub at 45 or 50, it's not happening then, right? You're using probably like an 18 to 36 dB per octave curve, so there's some give there, right? So you're still going to hear and feel the sub, but you don't need to actually change anyone's heartbeat or, you know, give them an aneurysm or anything. So just back off of it a little bit, and your sounds will fly off the speaker cones. And then watch resonance. On filter sweeps, it sounds like in a couple of spots, you've got a filter sweep and boom, you automate it, you move on, you forget it. But I can hear that resonance is bumping the subs way up in a couple of spots right there. So just remember that resonance is nothing more than a volume bump, and that's it. And then 244, I would get more aggressive here, just because you've got a bit of the wackadoo baked into the overall sound here. And it's a pretty aggressive on the fun front song in general. So I think what I would do, and like especially the quirkiness of the palette that you're playing with, I would get really aggressive in how you treat the entirety of the content delivery at the end. Like I would do some quick little stutters on the entire mix, maybe do a couple of like wild and somewhat aggressive transition effects that ends the song, and then it comes back, and then it ends, and then it comes back. But it's like reversed, and then it like gets flushed down a toilet or something. You know what I mean? Just like some kind of, whoa, what just happened? That just happened. I need to hear it again. You know what I mean? Like give people some kind of a, what? I think that's what this song deserves at the end. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, totally, man. I think a little bit more saturation, like you're saying, definitely, because like this style of music definitely is saturated and compressed to be made sound as aggressive as it realistically should, I guess. But you know, yeah, saturation will definitely be helpful. I was thinking in terms of the arrangement, like in the second part, maybe you could do this in the first part, in the first like drop, you might say, but in the second like go around, the second drop, having like a moment after 8 bars or 16 bars where instead of the next 8 just starting on the kick, like take away that kick and put like this empty space where like maybe the sounds are verbed out for a sec, and then cut the verb have a reverse that sucks into the snare. That way there's like a little bit of like whoa, you know, what's happening here, right? And then you bring it back.
Vacuum.
So that'd be a cool effect. The military is flying over my house right now, so I apologize if you can.
They're watching you, Danny.
They're watching me. Yeah,
they're watching you.
It's a full convoy. They're bringing everybody. They heard your beats. That's what happened.
This is it.
They said there's some sonic artillery going on over there. Yeah, man. I think some interesting arrangement stuff like that will really take this tune to a whole new level. In a really cool way. Like, I mean, it's super cool already. I like the syncopation and the effects, the rhythmics. The synth ARP is really, really cool. And I guess the last thing that I would say is like have some bass fills too. You know, one cool way of doing that, kind of like I was saying with the arrangement thing of like a big reverb moment and then suck in, whatever. Like if you have maybe just a simple two sawtooths, one that's playing the tonic, you know, just the root, and then one above the other oscillator that's set to like 7 semitones, so that's the fit, and then add a little bit of FM and saturation. It'll create this like tonic or this like sonic harshness in the sound design, but then it'll also have an interesting harmony that's being distorted, of course, by saturation and a little bit of FM as well. You might know what I'm talking about, but that will add like a little bit of excitement, like you know, and then ooh, right, like something like that would be really cool. Yeah, and then as far as I might be cutting out Javar. I don't know. Let me see really quick.
I think it's just a matter of the mic placement.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool. I'll be closer to it. Okay, here we are. And then the last thing, like piggybacking off of what Chris said as well, like with the EQing and removing of sub frequencies, when you get to the end of the mix, right, and you're going to smash this thing pretty much because like it feels like it wants to be, you know, not too hard, of course, but when you're adding saturation and compression, like you're going to really reduce a lot of the peaks. And this is something that I learned from Chris actually when I was mixing my album. You want to have you want to retain as much dynamics as possible, and one of the best ways you can do that, of course, is by, Chris said, backing off the compression. And with something like this that has a lot of syncopation, a lot of rhythmic interest going on, you want there to be that tickiness, and that can be retained through just backing off the compressor. And the way that you can do that, not by just backing off the compressor, is you can give the compressor even more room by removing those sub frequencies, because the sub that's going into the compressor is going to make it freak out. So if you can open up that space, then you're gonna be sitting pretty nicely.
That's right. EQ first. EQ first. EQ first.
Yeah.
EQ first. Don't listen to those fools. Put your compressor on. EQ first.
Limit first, saturation, gain 24 dB, and then EQ and compress.
The hard fact of the matter is that your plugins don't care about you and what you're making. They have no idea if it's even music. They just know what signal strength is. That's all. Plugins.
It's all about the flow, man.
It's true. Kwame, you are up. All good if you're in a meeting. If not, then we're playing you right now. Chords. More chords. Mm. Kwame, dude, seriously, some feels, homie. I feel a little decompressed right now. It's good. Nice chords. Nice chords. Any luck on finding new piano learnings? A little bit more swagger on the beat, just like a tiny bit more, and like just a dash of Dilla. Not like anything really, nothing that hangs. Just a little off. This sine synth, like the fairly basic one that's really lovely and drenched in verb, I think that the verb can come down in dB just a bit. And also you could maybe dip the mids just a little bit in that reverb, and it would allow for just a little bit more of the mids in the original sound to come through and sit on top of the verb just a little bit more. So right now they do kind of compete because the verb is so long and those same frequencies are kind of hanging in the air. So each time you're triggering a new note, it kind of builds, and there's a little bit of frequency bloat there. Maybe just a touch of noise for the dusty aesthetic. Like you could put it into that reverb channel that we were just talking about. If you put just a little bit of grain in there, I think it would feel so nice. Another option, old school trick, do like a little reverse gate on some noise. You sidechain that to your kick, but you mute the noise channel and send the signal to your reverb aux channel, and you send it at like maybe 20% or something. So then what happens is each time you get a kick in the arrangement, you get this tiny little dust, like this tiny little scattering of dust in the reverb on your other instruments. It's a really nice effect. Lovely pluck coming in at 158. Just absolutely gorgeous. Really cuts through the entirety of all of the stuff. It's awesome. I feel like it could slowly come up, like over the course of like 6 to 8 bars, it could slowly come up a few more dB. So when the rest of the mix falls away, it's really at some kind of a peak, because then it starts to fall down again. So right now I feel like it's just kind of rock steady, and then it kind of falls down again. So I think there's room in the mix for that thing to really kind of come up and crest at the top of the wave. Danny, what do you think?
Yeah. Pretty much everything you said. I could definitely use a little more swing on the drums. Even with some more swing, you could add a little bit of interest in the groove with some like ghost notes. If you're unfamiliar with what ghost notes are, it's basically just a quieter version. For example, in the snare, in between hits, that adds a little bit more groove. It's usually the same sound, same sample, just quieter. Lesser in velocity, usually lesser in envelope as well too. So a quicker decay and release, less sustain. Bit of production stuff. But if you're unfamiliar with ghost notes, definitely check those out. That will definitely help the groove a lot. I was feeling like maybe like a muted trumpet would be kind of cool on this. Like every so often, just like a line, or maybe just like a couple, like one-shot hits of like a muted trumpet could take this to a very, very interesting place.
What are you wearing, slippers over there right now? Are you like, is there a bubble pipe in your hand?
A bubble pipe?
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, this feels like, is there like a fireplace in this room that I can't see? You're channeling some like,
oh,
it's just the mood of the song. It's done this to you. This is lovely. Horns should absolutely be in this mix. You're absolutely correct.
Man, I want to be in my bathrobe.
Yeah.
Totally with slippers on,
Yeah.
fireplace.
Yeah.
Glass of whiskey and a nice big cigar, just chilling. Like straight lounge vibes, my friend.
Yeah.
Muted trumpet, just super, super intimate and like just warm, man. Like go to your local Sephora or your local Macy's and smell the men's and women's musky scents, and you will be incredibly inspired to do all this. I guarantee it. My girlfriend drags me to these places all the time. I'm glad that she does, because man, that's the stuff where inspiration lives. I swear.
Yeah, but does she stop and pick up Kwame on the way?
That's the whole thing. Is like I hear the Kwame, and I hear where Kwame's going.
Mm-hmm.
Just needs a little bit more. He needs that top.
Mm.
He needs that top part of the scent, and that is, I think, the muted trumpet.
I like it.
He's got himself a real fragrance on his hands. Yeah, man, great tune. A little bit more flow, a little bit more swag, definitely. Muted trumpet would be awesome. That's all I can really say. I think that's about it. Maybe a little bit more interest actually in the bass too. I agree with Paul. The bass is a little boomy. That could just be maybe the sound choice, EQ, whatever, but it could definitely be spiced up a lot with some more little thrown in fills and things like that. You know, don't do it too much, take away from the vibe, but do it enough where there's a little bit of interest.
Smooth Operator, the new fragrance by Kwame Brown.
Yes, exactly,
Roku
man.
side.
You'll have the music and the fragrance, man. Like, you'll just be a one-stop.
Oh, Kwame. The only man we know that not only gets sexier every single day, but his chords do too.
Yeah.
Rockhound, you've been so patient. You are up. Let's do some techno. This is a really cool, like coronavirus-y looking bit of art here, by the way. Oof. Cool. Last minute's mix out. I'm going to start talking then. There are things that I don't want you to touch in this mix. There's a couple things I'd love. Little verb slap back throb on that kick. This is so good. This is so good. Little suck back added to the transition. Effect at 240 would be ace. Add a little stutter or some gating at the peak for that that vocal bit at 255. Seriously, this whole thing is just freaking solid. I love it. I really don't want much to change on this one. It's good stuff. It's good stuff, and it was absolutely worth the wait. Danny, what do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't change much about it either. I mean, it's really, really great, really well mixed. Yeah, cool ideas. I like the fills, like the fill with the vocal and the synth, like blending into each other before the drop. Like that's so sick, man. That's really, really cool.
Right?
I would say maybe add a little bit more flair, maybe some fills, maybe like some tonal elements. Just to here, let me get closer. Maybe this is better.
There you go.
Cool. Nice. Yeah, add a little bit more, some more flair on the drops. Like the second go around of each drop could use maybe like a new element that takes it a little bit further and adds a little bit of interest. Fills, things like that. Let's see. Yeah, make the condenser work. Yeah, true. I know. I'm gonna put it in my mouth in a minute. Let's see. Yeah. What else? I think that pretty much covers it. I would say the second drop, the second part, like have a big build up, man. Like, I mean, techno, especially like, length is kind of everything for the anticipation, especially when like you have like such a big, in most cases, I guess, a big washed out like build up or like breakdown or whatever. And then you just take everything back and strip everything back. And the drop is like minimal. In this case, it doesn't have to be super minimal. I think what you have is great. I wouldn't change anything about that. But I would say everything leading up to that second drop, just big and bold, my friend, big and washed out. And then even on that drop, I would even like take away maybe a couple few bars, like so that the kick doesn't come in and it's just like the sonics, and then build it up again really quick, like a fake out, and then bring it in again, and then just have like all these elements, and maybe like some kind of rising element that isn't like a riser per se, but some kind of like pitch bending element to like bring things in and add a little bit more like movement first of all, and then movement and interest, but then also anticipation, like, oh, whoa, what's happening, and make it a little bit more chaotic. But other than that, man, yeah, it's just like minor little effects that will really add to this. Great track, really, really dope. I love when techno is really, really well done, like well done in terms of being different and really, really tastefully produced as well.
Could use some more Boston House. I think 48 octave pitch bend is great. That's a good tip there, 100%. Becky. That's really good. Yep.
You're welcome, and everyone else.
And also that breakdown, I agree with Roku. I wish that it was longer. I would love to feel like I'm sitting there in limbo for a bit and then be snapped back into reality. I love that effect. Everybody loves that effect. Come on. That's why we go to the club. It's not just the drugs. It's that feeling too. Quirky. We're going to get some funk. I told you. It's funk.
I set down the whiskey, and I had my Red Bull vodka for that one.
Oh! Well, don't move. You're going to need that. Because we got some quirky funk. This is it. It's coming a little hot. Quirky, there's so much more separation of your layers! Who's got 200,000 streams on his YouTube right now because he's learning? Quirky does. And you know what? I just opened up my Happy Little Accidents. The one I'm sharing with you today. I feel like I was intended to open it to this page while listening to Quirky. If we all painted the same way, what a boring world it would be. And again, with the freaking squirrel. It's like they made it for us. Right there. Quirk, dude, seriously. Like, I'm not going to give you a bunch of technical feedback this time. You've obviously applied every single freaking thing that we've brought to you in all of the feedback streams. You are just absolutely killing it. So your challenge for this week is to identify something new in the mix that you feel you need to work on, because as you were listening to it here during this feedback stream, you were like, wait, I could have done that better, or I could have done that differently, because I would love to know what it is about your own work right now that is standing out to you as not really hitting the mark that you're wanting it to hit. Because otherwise, I would say, dude, go back and listen to something from yourself from 6 months ago and see how many of the individual elements in your mix are, easily heard, right? And it's got some separation. You've developed a way to get the kind of clarity that you're seeking in a genre that is largely about obfuscated sound. So bravo, because that means that people are going to be able to hear what you want them to hear, regardless of where they're listening to it. And that's not exactly something that's very easy to do with funk. So that's what I got to say to you today. And big ups, because this is proof of your effort. All of this. This is good. Danny.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is a good volume, hopefully.
This is sexy.
Nice. Hello. Welcome to OhmLab. Yeah, man. Honestly, like I was really enjoying that. Like it's one of those things, again, it's making me laugh, right? Because it's like, this is fun. Like this is so enjoyable. Like, whoa, it's so cool. Like I like that the melody is kind of driven by that 808 cowbell. Like it's such a classic sound that's used in such a particular way. So when hearing it in a way that isn't particular, it just completely throws off my expectations, which is one of the best feelings, and I think is one of the most important elements to a great tune. Something that, yeah, might have like a usual element, like for example, drum and bass relies heavily on the amen break, as many of you are probably familiar with, as a lot of other music is. So when it's thrown off in a way that's different, it just adds to that unique quality of the song and just makes it overall more interesting, in my opinion, at least. Yeah, I don't think there's really much technical stuff that I can really suggest that like um might be super beneficial because you're developing from what I'm reading. I mean, I don't know a lot of your music and I don't know a lot of where you're coming from, so I can't really say. But I will say, from a production standpoint, yeah, man, you're really on the way. It sounds really, really awesome.
I wish DB peeps would lay off the amen break. Boom, right there. She said it out
Yeah.
loud. Thank you, Liv.
Oh man, dude, shots
What's the point
fired.
of doing this? The point of doing this at all is so y'all can make the stuff the way that y'all want your stuff to be heard, perceived, experienced, etc., shared, right? So that's why, you know, you can only take so much critical feedback from others before you kind of check in with yourself and reassess and make sure that you're actually still aiming for the things that you want to be aiming for and not those around you that are spouting off all the time. This is a really, really, really good time for you to check in with yourself and see exactly what it is in the mix that isn't hit in the same exact way that your inner heart desires the most.
I might say
Central, I pushed
two things.
neg 0.9 LUFs on a project the other day and it felt amazing. We have an ongoing thing, Danny, Central and I. He brings something mind-blowingly delicious and I say LUFs. It's a good relationship that we have. And speaking of, he's up 86 Neo Solish Nero. Oh, okay, this
Really
sounds
quick.
good. Yeah.
Very quickly, if I may, two things. First of all, when the levee break in the beginning is incredible. If you guys aren't familiar with that drum break, check it out. Led Zeppelin. And then number two, I need to use the toilet really quick. Is it cool if I go?
No. Do you have a hall pass?
Yes.
Okay, then go.
Actually,
Your mic is funk right now, by the way. Quirky is saying this made my day 10 times better. I'm at a loss for words. Well, Quirky, dude, you're pleasing our ears all the time when you come through here with stuff. I just want to know how pleased you are when you're listening to it right now.
is this better? Or is it still kind of funky?
It's all right. Speaking to the top of your mic. Head on. Just the tip. Hello. Hello. It's much thinner up there. It's way more filtered on the side.
Boomy.
It's cutting out now. It's just cutting out.
Okay.
Just the tip. It's not that. It doesn't have to be that kinky.
Hey man, it'll be as kinky as I want it to be. I'll be right back.
All right. Central, you're up. And we're going to have to fly through these because I got a QC party starting in a bit. And got a boogie on the feedback. He shoots. He scores. He wins. This is great. There's that left thing. It's really good. It's really good. And I love the chill side of the spectrum that you are dwelling in lately. It's really good. Tremtaz, I keep getting Facebook DMs. Yo, hey, welcome back, baby. Kwame, we reviewed your stuff, and you're still awesome. And your chords got sexier again. And Roku is going to handle the fleecing of Central this time, so I don't have to do anything. So I get to stay on Central's good side. Man, it sounded perfect. There was nothing wrong with this one. Get him, Roku. Get him. Yeah, Central. Come to Portland. Let's hang. Seriously, though, this was freaking delicious, of course, as always. And I really don't want anything changed in this one. I just want more of it. I really like the texture, the air, the space, all of your normal things. And like Tremtai said, yeah, as always. Danny, I don't know what you heard while you were in the wash closet, as it were.
It was an absolute masterpiece.
The wash closet or the...
Both.
Yes.
Here we go. Both.
Both.
The wash.
Geology. Great handle, by the way. Geology, you are up. Work in progress, 5th of October Jazz Keys Beat. That's what we're listening to. The wash closet. When was the last time you said the wash closet?
I've never heard that before.
Nah, we don't speak like that. Yeah, mid-90s right here. Oh, that was good. I want the vocals up, please, and don't touch the rest. I love how, like, slim and minimal you left that bass. This all feels very old school in the pocket, and I have nothing technical for you. Just turn up the vocals. Danny? That's a vibe.
Yes. That was awesome. That was such a groove. And that, like, that ending, like the triplet motion that was going on there, that was so tight. I mean, I guess I don't know if that's you or if that's a sample or whatever, but like that was really tight, like in terms of performance, but also tight in terms of like that was sick, dude.
Yo.
Yeah, drums are grooving, man. Good flow.
It was good stuff.
Great.
Liv is up next, Cardio Party in the house, saying, I apologize to anyone here who has already heard this song. There's some changes I've been meaning to make to this for a while, but I'm still kind of shopping it around in the feedback realm. Biggest change that is not reflected in this bounce is that I think I need to shorten the second verse to be about half as long. As always, this is just production phase, so very minimal mixing, mostly just trying to communicate the ideas as best I can before handing it off to Anthony. This one is called Hold Me Closer. Let's roll.
Tell me that I'm beautiful till candle burns. Show me your whole world till I can't get enough. Don't be distracted while I lie so hard. Baby, try to focus. I'm all what you got. Try to focus on me. Try to forget, try to focus on me. Try to focus on me. Try to focus. Try to focus on me. Me closer. Love me better, like I used to. Now do you addicted to me? Tell me that I'm beautiful till candle blood. Show me your whole world till I can't get enough. Don't be distracted while I lie so hard. Baby, try to focus. I'm all what you got.
Hey, Liv, let me ask you something. Why is this still being shopped around for feedback? What is it that you're hearing in here? Thank you, Cardia. The reason I ask is, well, you know my feelings on this. There are plenty of things that just fall right out of you that are radio ready. Because it's probably going to be a single on the album, which means it'll be released sooner than. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's true. The amen break is missing. Start again. Just to keep this brief, I would say that this is one of those home run tracks, and I feel like it is, like it's very representative of Cardio Party, and what you do. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to recommend like a whole bunch of change for this one. I think that Anthony's going to get a hold of this and tighten up a few things. Yeah, I agree. I agree with Trem Ties. It's still sounding very Ocardi Party, but it is cool hearing you do something fresh, whatever. Yeah, I agree with Roku here. Like, if there is something specific. Yes, I've got 6 tracks written for the album, and every one I've experienced a new feeling from. I've been making it. Yeah, this is it. Like, music sucks, and music is fucking awesome. And you're in the middle of some stuff right now. You're you're feeling some stuff, and it's all coming out in your music, and you're cranking out a lot of really good stuff. I just don't think you should. I don't think you should fuck with this one anymore. I think you should hand this one off to Anthony and see what you feel when it comes back. And I don't even think you should listen to it in the house. I think you should listen to it somewhere else. Yeah, I think there's a reason why you're feeling that. And you should just roll with this one. Yeah. Danny, did you have any feedback for Liv?
Oh, there we go. No, I really don't. I mean, that was a great tune. Like, that's something that I can hear on like Viper, like Viper recordings. Definitely got that that sound, but like it's yours, which is cool. yeah, I can't give anything, and I'm into a lot of drum and bass. I like to think, at least, especially like the current stuff, and yeah, like this really stands up on its own, like really, really well done, like awesome. I'd say maybe the only thing, it's creative, so take it with a grain of salt. But one thing that could be really cool is in the breakdown when you have the vocal just by itself. I think maybe
Amen. Break.
aim and break all the way. Yeah, chop it up and like snare on every eighth note. I mean, just like completely twist it. Make it just obnoxious. um, yeah, throw a little. If you don't have Portal is a granular delay reverb multi effect thing from Output, which is a fantastic product. I think it's really great on a lot of vocals. If you have that, throw it on the vocals, and don't have it on there 100%. Like, don't have it on the vocal 100%. Like, have it either on the track that is the vocal and automate the mix, so that way when there's like a break in the vocal or like a breath, you have the effect happening, so that way you're like creating a little bit more dynamic in the vocal in an interesting way, and creating space, like reverb space. And then you could also attempt to have it 100% on a different track. Like, if you duplicate the vocal track and then put Portal on it and maybe detune it, like literally just at like 10 cents, perhaps just a little bit, you can get some interesting vocal flavor and texture. Yeah, try it out. I don't know how it'll work. I know that I've done that a lot of times on my tunes, and it either works very well or it doesn't work out. I think in this case it will work out and add a little bit more dimension to the vocals in that moment. It feels like it wants that moment in the song wants a little bit more space and a little bit more production, but really, like, it's super minor, and everything else in this track is so well done. Everything has its own space. The vocal's very clear. That's very important, especially with like a really full mix like this. And yeah, you should feel very proud, very, very proud. This is an awesome tune, and yeah, can't wait to see where you go with it and where it ends up. So congratulations to you.
Word. Liv, we deeply appreciate you. And hell yeah, I use the hell out of it. Dude, if my name's in the credits, I'm going to be freaking using it. That's all I have to say about a tool. That's all I got to say about that. We're going to go on to the Animus project. And we will be wrapping up pretty quickly after that, because we've gone over a bit, but I refuse to stop because this music is too good. This one's called Hope. Wow. And like Ruben, Animus Project, whichever you prefer to be called, this is your first time through, right? I don't remember hearing your stuff before. Really good stuff. The arrangement here, really well put together and some really interesting creative choices. There are a couple of things that I would recommend. Just in general, I think that a little bit more use of transition effects and a couple of pivot points in your arrangement would be very well received. It would really help kind of push the emotional impact and really kind of focus the listener's attention on some things. Use those things as cues, right? Um, just some technical stuff at 20 seconds, these hits that are happening, if those slowly open just a little bit, like just a little bit of volume automation on a filter opening, just slightly, right? Like maybe just like 5 to 10% or 7%, somewhere in there, just a little in the pocket, right? It will allow a little bit more of the frequencies to be disclosed into the reverb channel without affecting the initial impact of the sound, and thus creating this feeling of like this upward expansion. And that can really go a long way in a cinematic soundscape for sure. The other thing I would say is for that type of impact effect, when you're going to mix it with a large full mix like this, I would definitely recommend less downward compression, more upward compression, and really rely upon saturation instead of gain addition through subtraction with the compression. 136, the pace of the development, I feel is like really, really on point, and you can very much feel it in this moment. That it's not restrained, but it's very intentional. And 150, you can feel that there's this mid-high buildup in the frequencies, and this is like the first time where it really kind of becomes like an issue in the mix. But then there are some other points where you can hear it. The loudness is just being pushed a little bit too much, and I think there's a little bit too much kind of electronic mixing tendencies or advice kind of seeping through here. You feel it again at 215 pretty clearly that it's feeling pretty driven. And then once all the entirety of the intensity comes up towards the end of the track, it feels like it's all a bit too much being driven. Small transition effect at 228. Again, just to kind of bolster that change, kind of help focus and orient the listener. Again, just really lovely choices throughout here. The melodic stuff here was just quite lovely. The expression, like your use of expression and dynamic change over time, your delivery of instruments, everything is really, really nice throughout. I would just watch out for competition. So maybe more aggressive or more assertive or noticeable volume automation in places to help create the separation that you need to avoid that kind of a conflict. You could also play just a little bit more with the EQ on some of those instruments to kind of create an individual space for each one or an individual profile for each one. Any extra mid-high accenting and drive you can back off of. There might be just a little bit too much saturation being added at different points, and then when the whole thing is then run through compression and then ultimately some more maximization at some point, I think it just kind of it adds to it a bit too much. And just the outro of this, it feels so good. The pace and the space is so good. And I would say just apply a little bit of that back to the most intense moments in regards to the prioritization of sounds and the like you can feel the appreciation of the sounds to have that space, to have the ability to ring out like that, and to not run into other things, and then kind of take a look at one of the more intense moments in the mix and ask yourself, what are one or two things that I could do to help the individual sounds that are the main priority in this section ring out a little bit more on their own. That's what I got for you on this one. This is really solid. It's really solid. Oh, and Roku. Saying good concept, well executed. There's some polish to be done, but there's nothing that stands out. Shouldn't be there. All parts are moving properly. Arrangement is solid. I agree with the transitions. Try not to always rely on percussion to transition. Yes, you can do this as well with small arpeggio notes on the flutes or strings. Perhaps even the oboes if you're bold enough. Boom. Yes, and I am speaking of the booms there on those initial impacts and the kind of opening up the filter just a little bit. And yeah, that is that. Danny, do you have anything to toss in on top of all of that?
Yeah. I noticed a lot of people were saying that it reminded them of Requiem for a Dream, and I totally felt that. It's so cool, man. Yeah, if you haven't seen that movie and heard the original, well, like the song from that's like most popular, check it out. Really great. And they have the orchestral version as well too. Good stuff. But this is really, really nicely done. I mean, man, it's full of emotion. I loved at the end that like free form piano playing. That was so beautiful, so well done.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, really, Chris, like you covered so much of what I was initially thinking. I think maybe, yeah, someone mentioned it in the chat actually. Really, really insightful thing. Have some more dynamics between the strings and the brass, especially. They feel like if I'm thinking about like a dip, right? Like this, it feels like they're like this, and everything wants to be like this, like more dramatics, especially because like you're playing with a limited sonic palette and instrument palette that you really want to get the most out of them as much as you can, and that is going to be through dynamics. Yeah, through like swells and going from someone mentioned as well some of the orchestral lingo, mezzo forte to fortissimo and things like that. No, carve with volume. So like it sounds like you have a lot of EQ and a lot of like production going on. I mean, with the compression and saturation, like you can hear like things are processed. So try to get some natural dynamics with like the volume. So if you can go in and attenuate the expression, like you can in Logic, other DAWs, you have an expression automation lane. And if you have an expression pedal, great. If you don't, I recommend getting one, because what you can do is you can add that expression, and that will be more natural than like any other kind of dynamic, whether it be compression or EQ. As much dynamic as you can get as possible in the original sound, in the initial foundation that you're working with, the better off you're going to be in the long run, especially if this is something that you're going to pitch to films and TV and whatever. Like when this gets tossed into a show or a movie, they're going to process it for voiceover and effects and things like that. And if it's already super crunched and compressed, and there aren't maybe enough natural dynamics, it's maybe going to be a little bit harder for them to fit in. So I would urge that you definitely play with dynamics as much as you can, natural dynamics in the mix initially, in the arrangement initially. And then the last thing too, just a minor little creative thing that I was thinking. When you have I believe it was flutes, there's like a little section in the middle that was stripped back and quiet. Flutes or something like that. Excuse me, I was listening. I would need to go back to listen. But that moment in particular, right before the main big part that's like nice and quiet, add like maybe like a bell that's playing the same thing on the flutes. Like a glockenspiel would be really nice. Not super, heavy on the velocity, but just something that's following the same melody might be kind of cool. You can do like octaves of that. So like if, the melody is like C, D, F, G, whatever, right? You can have two instances of like a C1 and a C2 or whatever, just higher up, of course, to fit. That would be kind of interesting. So,
Celeste. Yeah.
Well, yeah. If there was a Celeste, maybe I missed that. But yeah, I mean, the idea still stands. Like, if you can have some kind of bell instrument, Celeste would be great. Glockenspiel, something like that. I mean, just any kind of bell thing that would fit nicely over those flutes. That would be really, really cool. Because I think it would actually kind of take it out of, like, a lot of people are saying Hans Zimmer here. And I agree. I definitely hear that. And it's really well done. But I think the bells might give this song a little bit more identity of you as well. So just something that takes it a little bit further. So
Yeah, using the built-in controls for dynamics in those instruments is going to change the way that you produce, because it's not just a volume difference. It's not. There's a difference in intensity and velocity and timbre and texture and so many things. It's going to change the way. I mean, that one little tidbit of information is probably why you were supposed to be here today, because that's a pretty darn important thing. And your music is going to you're going to feel the difference of that change of just going from simple volume automation to expression changes.
You'll probably see, you'll probably end up seeing just how little processing you actually have to do at the end of the day when you are messing with the expression.
Yeah,
Because that expression is so important that you won't maybe need to do as much harsh processing as you might think. So
true. Very true. All right, Fish Memory. First time for you in the feedback queue. Excited to hear what you brought, and we're gonna have to wrap up quickly. I've got QC party step into here in just a little bit. So this one is called My Sunshine, featuring Atron.
Sunshine used to be tasteful. My life used to be peaceful. I don't even know what I'm made for anymore. Next to you, life wouldn't be hateful. I had you, I was always grateful. I felt God strong and faithful. But it's over now, you know. It's over now, you go. It's over now, you know. It's over now, you know. You go, now you know. It's over now, you know. I won't accept this tragedy. I would leave you, but love has gravity. If she asked me for one last thing, I would have done it happily. It's over now, you know. My sunshine. And now that you're gone, my sunshine. But it's over now, you know. It's over now, you go. It's over now, you know. But it's over now, you know. It's over now, you go. It's over now, you know. It's over now, you know. My sunshine. And now that you're gone, my sunshine. It's over now, you know. My sunshine. And now that you're gone, my sunshine.
I don't really have too much for you on this one. I would say that it might be just a little bit louder than it needs to be. In regards to streaming services, and if something's going to get turned down or not. Everybody measures stuff through average LUF measurement these days, which is just a loudness measurement. So it might get turned down just slightly on a couple of these streaming platforms, but the mix is really solid. Your palette is great, and I don't want to give you too much technical feedback on this because you've obviously developed a sound that is yours and you're drawing from multiple influences, but there's absolutely like an original appeal to this. It would be lovely to hear some more of your stuff over time and kind of get a sense of where you're satisfied and where you're not so satisfied in your overall sound and like the kind of things that you're reaching for, just your overall satisfaction level of all of your production stuff. But this is good, and the first track to bring us too. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Danny, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I like how stripped back it is. It's super chill and has a nice acoustic feel to it, which is very refreshing, of course, in this age of very electronically produced music. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but hearing something that is acoustic is very refreshing. Yeah, I really can't think of much else other than, yeah, like stereo spectrum could maybe be a little bit more filled out in certain ways. Maybe some more like little effects. I have like a sonic palette that I like to call like cinematic effects. Really, it's not like that different. But what it is essentially is it's like it's a palette of sounds that don't necessarily fall into like the usual riser, downlifter, this, that, whatever. They're like just kind of unusual sounds, and mostly actually like a lot of rhythmic sounds, like rhythmic white noise that's processed in a certain way, whatever. Just little extras like that that you can pop in the tune. And they won't be like main elements. They won't be like primary or secondary elements. They'll be more tertiary. But what they'll do is they will add a little bit more texture to this tune. And I think that's kind of the only thing that this could really benefit from is just a little bit more texture and a little bit more, just a little bit more space perhaps as well. So that's why I say like cinematic effects, things like that might be kind of cool.
I like it. You guys, Roku is just dropping a brand new ambient piece, which we do not have time for today. We went over by 40 minutes and I really got a boogie, but we'll listen to it on the way into the show on Monday. That's it for the week. This is a wrap for the week. You guys freaking killed it again. I had to close the queue almost as soon as we opened it because everybody threw their tracks in so quickly. So good on you, everyone that got in so quickly. We had a really nice mix today. Danny, thanks to you for sharing your thoughts and feelings and emotions and living room with us.
I need a cigarette after this, man. I've been through so many emotions.
Right?
Listening to all this great music.
We need like a day off or something.
Just a good drag. No, it's been great. You guys are amazing, great music. I'm really stoked to hear like, it's so easy to get in such a bubble, right? When you're a producer and you're just like constantly like away from the world and away from other people that you lose sight of what, your friends and other people are working on. So it's always great listening to like new people and also a lot of people in here too. I'm kind of familiar with some of your music and anyway, great stuff.
100%.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, dude. We'll do it again soon. Love having you on, and love you. And we're going to go visit Liv, Cardio Party. She's just firing up a stream right now. So I'm going to hit start on that. I'm going to say thank you. You guys are amazing. Bringing such heat every single Friday. I appreciate everything that you do. I want you to stay inspired and make something even better this weekend and bring it back next week so we can listen to even more good stuff and just keep this party going all the time.
Always.
Yeah. Y'all have a great weekend. Peace out.